Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Unplugged Woodworkers podcast. So I thought I'd do another video podcast. I kind of got a good reception from it, I think. I got more views, more people seem to listen, so I thought I would do another one. So it's actually quite noisy at home. Everyone seems to be doing the garden, plus my shed's absolutely, it's just chock-a-block with stuff, with ply, and there's not a lot of room in there, plus it's absolutely scorching in there. So I'm actually sitting in my new camper van, kind of not a camper van, but kind of, it's getting there, So I thought I would do one in here, so I'll have to see how the audio is and everything, but hopefully it's going to be fine. So what have I been up to? So obviously been messing around with things in this van. I have started making some units. The units are made out of plywood. I am actually dovetailing them because it's me. I think anyone else would just screw them together or use some sort of non-complicated joints. Not that dovetails are complicated, but they just tend to take a little bit more time. But I am going to be speaking about that today. So what impressed me, so I think it might have been sometime last week or a few days ago, I come across a video on Instagram. This was a reel, and it was, I can't actually remember who posted this now, but I'll be putting the video somewhere either side of us, so you can have a look at it. But it was the woodpecker bridge joints. So these are so simple. When I seen it, I thought, wow, how simple are them? Why didn't I think of that? But they're very effective. So basically, for the people that are listening, so when you're actually jointing wood together, you've kind of got your joints. So when you get your clamps on across the grain to glue up multiple boards, sometimes, and especially with me using oak a lot of the time, the edges will be kind of mismatched. There'll be a step in it. So basically these bridges, if you like, if you think of two sections of small wood and a circle drilled out, a semicircle cut out in the middle of them, to give yourself some room where the joint would be, and you basically just sandwich them together, with your wood in the middle, and this takes a step out. Very impressive, very simple. But there's been quite a lot of stuff with woodpecker that I've come across over the last few years, and I think some of the stuff's like really clever. I'm not overly keen on the red and whatever plastics and the alloy they use, but some of the concepts are really good. There's been quite a few things. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check the video out on the big screen. So today I'm going to be talking about the cabinet that I'm building for here. So basically where the camera is situated, it's like about 300 millimeters, not even that, maybe 200 millimeters in front of where the camera is situated. I'm actually going to be building a cabinet. So for reference, the cabinet's going to be about yay high, and it's going to come from this side of the van, and it's coming to about approximately here, and it's 13.5 inches wide. That's, or rather in depth, so that's not really very wide, but it's kind of this door here, getting into the door, I needed to reduce it because I did have it, I think it was about 18 inches. So I started cutting sections of ply. I planed them up, had them all nice and square, So that reminds us, I did actually post another video, and I'll put that up one of the sides of us. Um, and this was how I was edge planing. So I was kind of using two boards stacked on top of each other, and this was kind of like a makeshift shooting board, if you like. Not quite a shooting board, so you did have to check it for squareness. But I think I seen a Japanese craftsman use this technique like years and years ago, a long time ago, and it's always stuck with us. And occasionally I do use it, because I don't really tend to use shooting boards and stuff. But if you're kind of working outside and you're on a Roman workbench, or even sawhorses or something, this could be a technique you could use. Back to the cabinet. Originally, I was going to use some Baltic ply, but the price of it, and I kind of couldn't justify the price of it, because I've just like kind of bought this van, had to pay for the install of the pop top, which I was kind of going to have a go at it, but I decided not to for a lot of reasons. Obviously there's other things to pay for, tax and insurance and stuff, so I'm kind of trying to keep the bill down. So I did kind of go for Chinese hardwood, Chinese hardwood ply. Don't I don't like the colour of it at all, but most of it's going to be covered up. You're not really going to see a lot of it. You're probably going to see this side of it, obviously, when you open the door. But I'm probably going to spray that. And the top, I've decided to use that old oak table I got given. I did have some elm, and I was like kind of planning on putting this elm on. This elm's absolutely beautiful, and I wanted to build something with it, so that's why I went with the oak. I mean, to be honest, the oak table that I got, these were like small boards. I think they might have been like 100mm boards that were obviously glued together, laminated, if you will. So it's going to look nice and okay in the van. It's going to spruce it up a little bit. But like I said, it would have looked great with the elm on, but the elm's really beautiful, and I want to do something with it other than the van. That's just me. Maybe I might regret it, maybe I won't, who knows. So I ended up getting the ply. This is 1/2 inch. I stuck with 1/2 inch because I'm trying to keep the weight down. I also feel that 1/2 inch is strong enough for what I want it for. So originally I was going to finger joint this, and I thought to myself, well, if you're going to finger joint it, why not dovetail it? It's going to make the joint a little bit stronger. I mean, probably anyone else would have just screwed it together, but this is me. So there's a lot of reasons, or there's some reasons rather, not to do the dovetails. Obviously with the plywood, you've got your long grain and your cross grain, and obviously that's how ply is made up. Most people know that. Obviously long grain, cross grain, long grain, cross grain, depending on how many layers there is. It's all glued together, compressed, and that's how ply is made. So the problem with this, with cutting dovetails, shall we say, is when you start fitting them, when you have to pare it down. So obviously you're not just pairing along the grain, you're pairing against the grain as well. So this can be a little bit problematic. Also, when you're fitting them, I haven't got to the point where I'm cutting the pins. Obviously I've done a little bit today. I had other things on, so I didn't get a lot of time. out in the garden. So I think one of the things is when they actually start fitting them together, the edges of the tails themselves, they're going to be prone to damage. They're going to damage easily because, as I said, you've got the long grain and then you've got the cross grain. So if you think of like a solid piece of wood, obviously the long grain is going to go up, and that's how you cut dovetails. I mean, there is some people that cut dovetails, multiple dovetails in the side of like of a length of wood, and that's wrong. Anyone who understands the structure of wood correctly will know that you wouldn't do that. Although I have seen it. I mean, there is a time and a place. Maybe if you're doing one single one, and I have done this myself, it's totally fine. But when you're starting to do multiples in the length or running with the grain, it's not good. That's a total another a total another podcast in itself. But those are the problems. I mean, one of the other things, when I was after I'd cut the tails, because I normally do start with the tails. It's my preferred method. So when I was removing the waste, it was a little bit awkward because with it being only half an inch, I decided not to use a coping saw to remove the waste like I would normally do. If I was to use I know, like 3/4 inch or maybe 22 millimeters, is quite 22 millimeters is quite common for me in thickness when I'm cutting dovetails. So because it was only half an inch, I thought I'll just use the chisel, just pare down with the chisel. So obviously I would remove sorry, I wouldn't remove, I would use my knife line or my knife wall, chisel down, and maybe a little bit deeper, chisel down again, and start using the chisel itself on the shoulder line. So this, I've only removed, was it 2 today? I think I removed two sections of waste today, and it was extremely easy to do this. But the problem was, or at least what I found, I had to be really gentle with it, because it was so easy. Because like I said before, you've got the grain, the long grain, and then you've got the cross grain. So when you're going into the cross grain, you might have removed a layer of the long grain, and then you're into the cross grain, and it's just so easy. And when you're applying pressure, or you're using your mallets or your hammer, whatever, it's so easy to go down. And if you've got that chisel angled more than 90 degrees, if you're undercutting, I could see it being a problem that you could damage the other side of it. So that's something to watch out for. So something else I did, because it's for myself, and I wanted to save myself some time, because I am actually hoping to kind of get this done so I can travel in it. I don't know if it's going to happen this time home. So obviously I've got to go back to work in like a week's time. So I'm hoping to maybe have, kind of livable at least for like a few days. So I do need basically this cabinet that I'm building, I do need it kind of finished, to house food and whatever else, a sink and whatnot. So it would be great if I could get it finished. So when I started, and I did actually do a video, I released a video today, which is Friday I'm recording this. So I'll put it on the screen. If you haven't seen it, you can have a look of it. So basically, I down the center of the section of ply, and I basically used 4 fingers, got the center of that, and kind of got the saw, put it to the edge of my finger, removed my hand out of the way and started cutting. Put my hand back, and I went to the opposite side of the finger. So I would have started at the first finger, and then I put my hand back and I started at the smallest finger. So that gives us my first dovetail, if you will. Then I used my middle finger, and that was the tail portion. And then I went to the outside edges and I used my middle finger again at either side, and this also give the outside pins. So that does save you actually some time. Obviously you're not marking things out. Of course there comes problems with this. This probably would have been a bit more problematic in thicker material, you know, 3/4 inch ply or any type of material for that matter, if you're not marking them out, because when you're cutting the pins, when you're cutting the tails, I've said this many times, if you're cutting the tail, it doesn't really matter about the angle, you know, other than visual. But you could cut one side, you know, say 80 degrees, and you could cut one side, you know, 70 degrees. So other than it looking not even, it doesn't really matter that angle, whatever it is, you know, whether it be 70 degrees on one or 80 degrees on the next one, it does not matter. What does matter, once you've cut those angles need to come down on the end grain at 90 degrees. That's where you need to be precise on the tails. So there lies the problem, that you're not following any line. I haven't actually checked any of them, so with it being 1/2 inch, it's going to give us a little bit of grace. Also, I'm an advocate, and I've said this many times, and there's people that's laughed at us, but I fully believe in it, and it happens time and time again with us. Because of the body mechanics of using the thumb, and the way you hold the Japanese saw, because obviously I use a Japanese saw, and you're using gravity. I've had a few people laugh at us over this, but you're using the body mechanics and gravity, and I tend to find I get a really straight 90-degree cut. So I'm kind of hoping that I'm not a complete idiot, and what I'm saying does actually work without me following the line. So kind of gonna have to see till I get everything fitted up. I don't even think I'm gonna check. I'm just gonna play it out and see, and see how things go. But yeah, I'm pretty confident. You know, it'll be fun to find out what happens. So something else that I did that I don't normally do. I'm using actually quite big dovetails. So in the section 13.5 inches in width or depth, if you like, there is 3 dovetails. So the dovetails are 4 fingers, in the middle at least. The ones on the outside from the middle, I think they may be, you know, somewhere in the region of 2.5 inches to 3 inches, but I think the one in the middle, looking at my hand there, it's maybe 4 inches, something like that. So obviously these are a lot bigger, but for me it is anyway. You know, my dovetails tend to be maybe 1 inch at the most. So this is a lot bigger for me. Obviously I know that, you know, within reason, the more dovetails you do, the stronger that corner is going to be. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all ends up once everything's glued up and things. I mean, I've got it in my head that it is going to be okay, but I'm not going to know 100%, you know, until everything is glued up. Obviously I am putting a backer board on it that's going to be glued and tacked into place, so obviously that's going to add strength to the unit itself anyway. Something else I want to do is add some shelves into the units that actually slide out on drawer slides. So drawer slides aren't something I typically use. I'm talking about the mechanical metal ones, so it's very rare I use these. It's been such a long time since I've used it, so I do normally, if I'm doing any sort of drawer, it is normally a wooden frame and the drawer rides on the frame. That's how I've always done it. As I said, it's very rare I use mechanical drawer slides, but for this I am going to. So that's one of the things I want to do with the unit itself. One of them's kind of one of the sections has kind of got to be, and that's because it's actually going to have a cooler box or a fridge, a little compressor cooler box fridge sort of thing. So that opens from the top, so obviously it's got to be able to pull out and for us to lift the lid to gain access to the food in the fridge. So that's definitely one of the things that I'm going to do. Another thing that I'm kind of undecided on at the moment is the doors. I'm not overly sure what I'm going to be doing with the doors. So what I think would be the best would be to do sliding drawers, and I have done sliding drawers, and I've done sliding drawers in my last van. These were made out of pine. I'll put a video up. There was actually a video. I'll put a video up somewhere. These are really good because they're going to stop obviously where the unit's situated. So if I'm accelerating or I'm braking, it's going to stop things from coming out. The doors themselves are going to stop things from falling out, and that's going to save us from making any latches or buying any latches, because obviously you'd have to get a latch strong enough or some sort of magnetic catch that's strong enough to stop it from opening up by itself when you're driving the vehicle. So if you're driving the van and the doors come open, everything's going to go all over the place. So it means you've got to kind of stop, or when you do stop, you've got to tidy everything up, and who wants to do that? So kind of that was my first thought. Obviously there is problems with this. Obviously the way the grain's running in the ply itself, obviously what we talked about before, it's long grain and then you've got the cross grain. I'm not overly sure how my grooving plane's gonna behave with the wood. I mean, obviously I'll do a little test piece to see, but it would be nice for us to put them doors in. I mean, I was just going to consider getting some 1/4 inch ply and just using 1/4 inch ply as the doors themselves. So I think that should be sufficient enough. But again, the problem being that the material itself is only 12 millimeters, half an inch. So I'm gonna have to obviously use the grooving plane. So if you can imagine, if I take out 1/4 inch, you know, it's actually compromising the strength of the ply. And the thing with these doors is that if I put it 1/4 inch on the bottom rail, the top rail has got to be 1/4 inch plus some, and that's obviously because the way these doors go in, you'll put the top in first, you've got to push it up, and then it's got to sit down. So, you know, I'm not overly sure there. The only other thing I could think of would be to add some of you know, an extra section of plywood on it to thicken the top up and possibly thicken the bottom up. I'm not overly sure yet. So I think that would be my preferred method. The other method I did have was just to use 1/2 inch material for the doors, and what I had in my head was to actually On the side that's going to be hinged, actually put a round over on the both corners, so you've got a semicircle, and I was going to put 2 pins in it, drill 2 holes in. When I put it together, I was just going to sit everything in, put 2 washers on, obviously, so it gives it a nice smooth open and close. So the problem with this is that if anything snaps or anything gets damaged, obviously the thing's glued together and I can't take the thing apart. That's one of the problems. So obviously, if you were to hinge the door how you would normally hinge a door, or any type of like hinge system, you obviously can, you know, take the door off if it should get damaged, or you want to do something with it, or take the door off for whatever reason. If I do it the way I've just stated before, it's kind of in there for good. And if it gets damaged, it gets damaged, and I don't think I'd be able to repair it. I'm not saying I couldn't, I'm not saying 100%, but it would be a faff, and you know, so that's something else to consider. I mean, when the top is on, obviously I'm going to put oak on top of that, so I think I'm just going to screw the oak in, obviously, so in, you know, make the holes bigger. So obviously this is going to allow the oak to shrink, you know, contract and shrink. So that's what I'm going to do with that. Another thing I did actually consider, I'm just making more work for myself, but I thought it might look cool, would be to, on this side of the cabinets where the actual door is open, obviously you're going to see the colour of the ply, which I did think I was going to just spray it some grey. What I've kind of thought to myself is what I could do is actually dovetail a section down. So I'd have the oak coming across, and then I could actually dovetail it at the corner and send that down to the floor. Kind of thought that would look pretty cool. And then the 2 doors, if I am kind of going to do them sliding doors, I was just going to spray paint them grey. Obviously it's going to go with the rest of the interior, and you've got the oak top, which is going to like kind of pop and stand out, so I kind of think it should look okay. Another project that I did have in my head was going to be a cabinet behind us. However, I want to be able to fit a workbench in here and tools. So kind of the width of the van is kind of only, it's just over 4 foot. I'm not quite sure the total size of it, but it's close to 4 foot, a little bit over 4 foot. So I'm thinking that I'm probably going to just put a Roma workbench solid. I'm not gonna leave the legs removable. I'm actually solid, and actually put it behind us. So that could be used for a number of things. Obviously, if it's solid sitting, I can put things on top of it, and obviously it's not going to be the height of the back of the seats, so I'm going to be able to put things on top of that and things underneath it. So that could possibly be another Roman workbench build. So if there's anything you want to see or any suggestions for the Roman workbench build, let us know. I might do a video. Obviously I've already done a video on how to build a Roman workbench, but I could maybe do a quick build video, obviously just slim it down and, you know, put in some new content of what I'm doing to make it fit in here. Maybe some new ideas. So if you've got anything you'd like to see, leave a comment or messages, whatever. So something else that I'm going to do, this isn't my idea, this is something I've seen on YouTube. Just below the seats, I'm going to make a drawer. So the drawer will actually come out. So there might be some of you asking why. Because the seats actually move. So these seats are pretty cool, so they'll go all the way back, and they come all the way forward, so they're pretty cool. So yeah, so if you're kind of interested and you want to see that, I'm probably going to make a video on it. So oh, also there will be a video. I'm not sure when I'm going to release it, but there will be a video. I am actually recording building this unit with the ply dovetails, so I'm not sure when it's going to be out, but if you're interested, you know, keep your eye out for it. I will be posting it sometime, maybe in a week, something like that, I hope. I hope it should be done and dusted and in the van by then, so hopefully. So again, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Any questions, leave a comment, send us an email, and until the next time, I shall see and speak to you guys later.